Laguna Beach, born in nearby Palos Verdes. And she's at home out here on these hard courts these 3 weeks that take place along the west coast of California. Venus Williams will open on serve. You have to imagine that Venus Williams is happy to have this opportunity for this rematch so soon, the very next week. And we'll see whether or not she can overcome the struggle she had on her forehand. And, of course, that big serve of hers can also keep her out of trouble.
Davenport has just been striking the ball so cleanly. She just won her 41st career title against Venus last weekend. She's currently ranked 5 in the world, but, of course, she's been ranked as high as #1 in both singles and doubles.
46 match record for this year, winning at Tokyo and Amelia Island, and also winning the Hoffman Cup with American male player James Blake in the team competition. Has been to 2 finals, and of course at the semifinals of Wimbledon, losing to Maria Sharapova. And winner there, cleanly by Davenport. 15-30. Venus Williams, winner of 4 Grand Slam titles. This year, a bit of a struggle in the big events. Lost in the 3rd round at Australia to American Lisa Raymond. Lost in the quarters to the eventual champion, Anastasia Miskina of Russia. And then a 2nd round loser at Wimbledon in the match against Karolina Sprem of Croatia. And that's that had the now famous mistake in the tiebreak scoring by the chair umpire. So Venus was the first to say that point didn't make the difference in the match. Sprem was the better player on the day.
She was very gracious in that defeat, Venus Williams, because at that stage in the match, 1 point did make a difference, and she was just upset that she let set points slip away in both the 1st and 2nd.
Long. And a break point here in the first game for Davenport.
Both players last week faced so many break points and were able to climb their way out of them with big serves. We'll see if the trend continues in today's match.
Well, it does right there. Deuce. There are no mysteries between these 2 players. They know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Backhand just long. Venus looks at the chair. Alison Lang from Great Britain is the chair umpire. So that seemed to be clearly out.
Another big serve to fight off the 2nd break point from this first game. Good extension on this serve, keeps her head up high. And then makes no mistake with this short forehand. Got a little high, had to adjust the last minute.
Ooh, that's a good service ace. Her first. Game point for Williams. Oh, wow, backhand. And the return back to deuce.
But you can tell Venus's intentions already in this first game are to move forward. She's looking to capitalize on that first shot last week against Davenport. She wasn't able to get Davenport out of position. She played a lot up the middle. That one off the line. Gives Venus another game point.
Ball will kind of skip off that paint, won't it? You frequently see, as we saw Lindsay, kind of have to back up at the last second. So their timing off. Serve at game point.
That's too good for Lindsay Davenport. Improved fitness helping Davenport chase more balls down in the last couple years. And she picked on the Venus forehand in this rally. Venus coming in, but look at that great backhand cross court.
Another good serve by Williams.
Huge serve, 119. Up the tee.
Forehand error again off the return of Davenport. So a long service game here to open this match. Venus Williams having to work hard again as she did a week ago.
It's looking just like last week, no question about it. Fifth deuce. And I can't recall too many straightforward games in last week's final. A lot of them went to deuce, a lot of break points for both players.
Played by Williams, and again, as you said, trying to get to the net position there and pick something off as she did.
And she's so effective when she's moving forward. She has such great reach. She sees that Davenport's stretched out wide, goes to the one-hander, and then what's become a normal shot, the swing volley, as you see Dad Richard looking on.
Busy guy this week with both of the daughters playing. And finally, Venus Williams able to hold.
It's been Venus Williams.
Venus waiting because there are some spectators coming in below us here, behind Lindsay Davenport. And so that's the delay, and Davenport being able to serve. A lot of folks came in when there was not a changeover, which they simply didn't know, and ushers didn't stop them. Because they play as continuous after the first game, they've just allowed the spectators to come in anyway. So now I see a couple of...
There they are, strolling down. Well, the good news is there's a lot of spectators out here like last night.
Right. A sellout crowd, 8,000 in here last night for the Serena match. Forehand drive by Venus Williams.
Once again, Venus forcing the issue, looking to move in and sending an early message to Davenport. Davenport's got to be thinking now when she moves to chase some of these balls down that Venus is coming in. She has to do a little bit more with her shots.
Love 30, so a little look here for Venus Williams in the second game of the match. That's long. 15-30.
15-30.
Knocked long by Davenport.
Couple break points.
One saved with a good serve from Lindsay. for Venus. 2-love in the opening set. Davenport going for a racket change. Yes, she's going to change her rackets immediately. Something she didn't like about that one.
Perhaps going to a little bit tighter. It's warm today. The ball's going to go through the air a little quicker.
For Venus Williams at 2-love. So surprised by the position of the sun. See her look up after she caught that toss. Davenport struggling on the backhand a little bit here in the early going. Normally reliable, great shot for her. Not likely to be going for long. 15-love. This hit there. And it's long. Wide. There it is again. Big forehand comes right in behind it.
Forehand's holding up nicely so far for Venus Williams. Gets the racket back really early, keeps her head down, then again closes out at the net. Sees the ball, keeps her eyes on the ball, and makes no mistake.
Recovered by Davenport.
Venus was there, though. She moved in nicely after this backhand volley, cut off the angle. Needed to be a little firmer with the wrist on that last forehand volley.
Still a game point for Venus with 3-love here in the first. As Davenport does here on second serve. Go behind the baseline. Gets to deuce.
Well, most of the errors so far have come from the backhand, surprisingly enough. Richard last week in Stanford was on the court with Venus, drilling that forehand, working on the return of serves, trying to get her more confident on the forehand wing.
Both players a little twitchy here. These games. Not a consistency that either of them would like to be presenting to the other. There's that forehand wide. Deuce again. One thing we have seen is what you pointed out, Mary Jo, is what Venus wants to do, and has been making every effort to come forward. So that's a big part of her strategy. Whether she can sustain it remains to be seen, and Davenport can get her game together. We'll see the same level we saw a week ago.
And Davenport's going to persist. And her game plan is to have Venus beat her with her weaker wing, the forehand. And if she does, that's too good. She has a break point opportunity, her third, early in this first set. She had 2 in the opening game.
Davenport paid for a little mishit.
Davenport took a big swing at this backhand volley and did miss-hit it. If not, she would have had the winner, but Venus had hit it so hard she couldn't control it. I think right there she would have taken the traditional volley, would have been a little bit more effective to handle the pace.
Shoots again. That's wrong. Another game point. Venus Williams, if she wanted to work on her service game, has had ample opportunity here in the first 2 service games of the match. Well long with the forehand. The deuce.
When we talk about Venus's weaker ground stroke, the forehand, that's the side to play. So much easier said than done, though. The ball's coming so hard and fast at you all the time that to be able to execute it consistently and effectively takes a lot, and that's why more players can't do it. I mean, everybody knows that that's the side you have to play. Another game point for Venus.
Down to that ball and gets a hold for a 3-love lead. Excellent play by Venus Williams, the number 2 seed against number 3 Lindsay. Series continuing here, semi-final action. Kim Ryan and Mary Jo Fernandez watching Venus Williams up a break, 3-love. In the first set, Lindsay Davenport to serve. Well done by Davenport. Good reaction off the net court.
Cut up to this one nicely, and then right here was alert. Kept her racket head in front into the open court.
From Venus Williams deep. 15 all. Lindsay Davenport being one of the top seeds, a bye in the first round, and then defeated Ann Kramer. Amy Frazier, the 15 seed, for the 10th time in a row against her fellow American, and then she just rolled over Nadia Petrova. That was a really kind of a startling score. Not so much the final result, but just the fact that Petrova, who's one of the good young Russian players, didn't give her much of a battle.
Most of their matches had gone to 3 sets with Lindsay Davenport, but Lindsay had 9 aces, only faced 1 break point the entire match. Won that match in under an hour.
30-second serve. Davenport.
Venus also had a first-round bye, then beat wildcard Ashley Harkero from the States easily. Lahotsova just dropped 2 games, and yesterday was tested in the first set by the Italian Schiavone, He's a very physical player, gets a lot of balls back. And then dominated in that second set.
That was just the most difficult point you could find for Venus Williams, using all of her physical and athletic skills. Getting from corner to corner, being able to reach a wide shot. She knows and understands her body and what she can do with it. It's a wondrous thing to see on a point like that. She's just it's hard to win that point.
Looking a lot sharper this week than a week ago. Another chance to get a double break in this first set.
Touch. And on the line, Davenport thought it was wide, but the linesman is firmly holding his hands down as a good ball. Let's see it again.
You can tell why Lindsay Davenport to question that call. Allison lying in the chair, not making the overrule. On the far line from her. 4-love now, Venus.
Davenport on the second serve. 15-all. Venus and her sister Serena from nearby Compton. This is where it all began. This wonderful fairy tale of tennis. Two Williams sisters. But she hasn't played in this tournament since 1997. Tournament formerly over at Manhattan Beach, just up the road a little piece here on the 405 San Diego Freeway. On the backhand after the long rally, 30.
Lindsay, on the other hand, plays her almost every year. This is her 11th appearance. She's been in 7 finals, winning this title 3 times. She loves the fact that she's close to home. She gets to sleep at home in Laguna Beach, which is about an hour away, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just about that. A little less from here. We always have to say depending on traffic.
Of course.
We are in Southern California. 30-all.
Davenport's favorite part of the year, the hard court season in California.
One point for Williams.
She's won 3 times here in L.A., 3 times back to the West in Stanford, twice at the Pacific Life Open in Indian Wells, and once in San Diego. The year she won the U.S. Open in 1998, she won all 3 in a row. Stanford, L.A., and San Diego.
We'll be in San Diego at La Costa next week. Double fault. First of the match by Venus Williams. It's red deuce. Up 2 breaks here in this first set. 2 doubles in this game. Break point Davenport.
Again, on a break point, comes over with a huge serve. She's been going out to the Lindsay Davenport backhand on that ag side, and that time, totally surprised her going up the tee.
114-mile-an-hour pace. Backhand wide from Davenport. Game point for Williams. 5 love here in this first set.
So many players get discouraged when they hit 1 or 2 doubles. It affects the rest of their game, but Venus has always found a way to just take the next point and erase it so it will fall from her memory.
Big forehand from Davenport. Draws the air, back to deuce. A lot of tempo to this so far. Another race from Venus. Well, now Davenport, that did look wide. Davenport thought it was, but it's another ace and a 5-love lead. Open series, and here's what it means. 10 tournaments on both the tours, the ATP and the WTA, leading up to the U.S. Open. Points awarded on a weekly basis. And when they get to the U.S. Open, the top 3 men and women can make some serious extra money.
They sure can. Andy Roddick was the leader last year, and he said, why wasn't that in place last year? I would have made $1.5 million at the end of the day. But it's been a great idea by the USTA to create a regular season for the tour.
And the beauty for the fans, they know every weekend, semifinals and finals, you can follow it right through the U.S. Open. We have the final here tomorrow afternoon in Carson. Second semifinal tonight, Serena and Shieva.
Well played by Davenport. There's no question in my mind these 2 players will be in the running at the end of this series for the U.S. Open. Right now, Davenport leads with 72 points. Venus with 57. Of course, Davenport won last week against Venus in the final. Schiavone currently 3rd, but I'm sure Serena Williams will make her move quickly.
Davenport only with an easy service game to 40 love at least.
You hate to lose a set 6 love. You do whatever you can to get on the board. Break up the momentum. I mean, the more Venus Williams gets on a roll, the more confident she gets, the tougher it is to catch up.
And so she holds it love. Venus Williams will serve for the first set.
Even though it's 5-1, one thing Davenport has to remember, she has been in Venus Williams' service game. She's had breakpoint opportunities. One of the reasons Davenport won last week was she was able to stay very positive throughout the entire match. Never got down on herself, never showed any negative emotions.
She had break points in 3 games in this first set. coverage by Venus Williams. No chance at that one.
Davenport able to open up the court beautifully, getting Venus out wide with this forehand cross court, and then her bread and butter shot, the double-handed backhand cross court. Look at the angle she creates. Uses that left arm and wrist so well and so effectively. Such a difference when you get on the outside of the ball. So the ball keeps going away from your opponent.
Forehand long for 15 all. Venus Williams 3 points away from the first set. They went to a third set tiebreak just a week ago at Stanford in the final. Davenport winning that match, but the set has so far been all Venus Williams. 15-30. Ball. Number 3 by Venus Williams. 2 break points for Davenport. There's the break for Davenport to 5-2. Makes the first set a little more interesting. Venus Williams up 5-2. Break at 5-2, leading Lindsay Davenport in the first set here at the J.P. Morgan Chase. And we want to remind you to keep up with the U.S. Open Series all summer long. For the latest scores, standings, and video highlights, go to the USOpenSeries.com. Davenport serving at 2-5. To have the backhand back in the groove, Mary Jo.
Well, if she can hold on to this service game, put the pressure on Venus to try to serve it out once again, and she's had break points in every one of Venus's service games. She's right in this first set again.
It's long, good serve down the tee, stretching her. Love.
Venus in the last couple of games has gone away from trying to move in and get to the net. That's what she did so well the first 3 or 4 games.
Another backhand error by Davenport. 6 on that side so far in this first set. Ultimately won by Lindsay Davenport. Point from 5-3. Double by Davenport. First for her in this first set. by both women there. Quick reactions, and again, the speed of foot of Venus Williams.
Venus giving that extra ball back. This volley would have been a winner against most players, and then Davenport showing her little finesse. Great shot selection.
5 games to 3. Venus won the first 5 games of the set. Davenport won 13 of the last 15 points in 3 games in a row. By Williams of 15. And tonight, more semifinal action. The top seed, Serena Williams, against the 4 seed, Elena Dementieva from Russia. Finalist at the French Open, 10 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. Joe and I will be happily here to bring that one. A big forehand there by Venus Williams.
Become a very different match from last week's final, where everything was so close. They stayed with each other in all 3 sets. A lot of momentum changes here in this first set.
Long, the 15-30.
I've seen more errors off the backhand. I think she's put so much pressure on herself, Venus, to work on the forehand and to keep it consistent, that when the ball comes to her better wing, the backhand, she's relaxing a little too much.
Davenport knocks it long. All.
What a time.
Yeah.
For her 5th ace.
She's been able to do that in this first set when she's really needed it. Set point. From Venus. When you see that, and we see Davenport picking, I know we've talked so much about it, everybody does. Are you seeing mechanics that you would change to help it, Mary Jo, or is it just inconsistency? Answer when you can. That's a beautiful shot from Davenport. Great point.
This is a great point. I think it's technique. I think it's lack of confidence in her technique, as you see Davenport set up and just blast this backhand up the line and to get back on serve in this first set. I think Venus Williams doubts that forehand a lot because sometimes she picks up her head. She doesn't follow through. There's a lot of room for error on that forehand, which she does not have on the backhand. Much simpler stroke.
Double fault for the break. 5 games to 4. Davenport has won the last 4 games in a row. We've got a battle again.
It's so hard, and again, to try and break down her forehand over the course of a match.
This is our 24th meeting. Venus leading 12-11. On hard court, she leads 9-7. Venus Williams, 3 sets. It's been Davenport with the edge, just winning the last week in 3 sets. And in the semis, it's been Venus 6-2. They know each other extremely well. Like Lindsay said, Lindsay dominated in the beginning of the rivalry and a much improved Venus Williams since 2000. has won almost every single time. They've played in Grand Slam finals. And now Venus Williams taking the tape off her right wrist. Let's see if she tapes it again.
I've seen that tape on her before, and the assumption frequently is it's just a preventative thing, but in fact it may have been something that has been bothering her more recently. She did have a tape wrap at the Stanford tournament. Reminder that tonight, the second semifinal, Sister Serena, top seed here against Elena Demontieva from Russia, the French Open finalist. That's at 10 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. So while the trainer continues to tend to Venus Williams, we'll take this break and be right back. Venus Williams has had her right wrist attended to by the WTA trainer, Kathy Ortega. And as we pointed out, she did have a wrap in the tournament last week at Stanford. Did not show any problems with the wrist. In fact, it was Lindsay Davenport in the finals who had to have the same trainer, Kathy Ortega, attend her left wrist. Davenport right back in it here. She's won Venus has won only 6 points in the last 4 games, so it's quite a turnaround for Lindsay Davenport.
This is where you mentally have to stay so tough if you're Lindsay Davenport. You're back on serve. You have to concentrate on each and every point. So easy to relax and think, okay, well now things are even. Well, they're not. It's still up 5-4.
Big backhand by Davenport to 15 all.
15.
Davenport's game plan is always to pick on the forehand, but now even more so, knowing that Venus Williams is struggling a little bit with that right wrist.
We'll certainly be watching to see if it affects her service as well. She's being right-handed, of course, Venus Williams. Again. 2 game points for 5 all for Lindsay Davenport at 40-15. She was down 5-love in this first set. Apiece. Now suddenly it looks a little bit more like last week. And I think what I took away from that thriller, the tiebreak in the third, was that over the entire match how competitive they were on every point. That if these were 2 people really competing out there, they both badly wanted it. It came down to a point or 2 either way.
No different today. A very different way to get to 5 all from last week.
I'd say so.
You don't see this very often. Venus Williams letting a 5-love lead slip away.
At 15 with that long forehand.
Venus had 4 set points in that first set last week in Stanford. And lost it today. She's had 1 already.
5 double faults to go with her 5 aces. wide. Love 30. Have a look here, Richard Williams. A little bit concerned here. Triple break point, pardon me. Love 40. And it drops for Davenport. That's the way the last 6 games have gone for her, and she is up 6 games to 5. Set, having trailed in it 5 games to love. Venus Williams needed more attention on the changeover from the trainer Kathy Ortega on that wrist. It was completely rewrapped again. And makes the forehand winner there.
Looks like she's in pain, though.
It does, and it looked also that it might have been affecting her on her serve in the last game as she was serving. Nice forehand there. Crisply hit for a winner, 15-all. Davenport looked hopelessly out of the set, serving for it.
It's been such a frustrating year for Venus Williams with her injuries. That's one of the reasons she has not been able to get the confidence she needs at the majors, and week in and week out. After the abdominal strain that kept her out 6 months, she's had a leg problem, she's had ankle problems, and now this wrist issue. That takes its toll mentally after a while.
Attempt. And 2 set points for Davenport at 40-15. She trailed 5 love. There's Richard Williams. Got to be feeling for his little girl. So Lindsay Davenport, from 5 love down, pulls it out 7 games to 5. Here struggling now with a wrist problem. She's been attended to twice. She led the first set 5 love and lost it to Lindsay Davenport 7-5. She is going to continue out here as the U.S. Open Series continues here at J.P. Morgan Chase Open in Carson, California. Keep up to date with it. 9 cities, 49 days, 10 tournaments that really count leading up to the U.S. Open itself. Get the latest standings and news at the USOpenSeries.com.
So nice to see all the associations in tennis working together to promote the sport.
Oh boy, she didn't really take a swing at that. No,
very passive.
Yeah, that's a shame. That does not bode well for Venus.
Just her body language isn't right now.
And that's an 85-mile-an-hour first serve, and of course that's the risk that's in play.
She was forced to withdraw from the final of the German Open this year with her ankle injury. And now it looks like she's just going through the motions.
Yeah, she's just not able to get the snap that she would normally present.
And it's always such a tough decision for a player when you get hurt during a match, whether to keep going. You feel the responsibilities to the fans, to the tournament. And on the other hand, you want to try to protect yourself, stay healthy for the next tournaments. We have the U.S. Open coming up in about 5 weeks. And I think she's questioning right now in her mind what to do.
To save 1 break point. And of course, now it also, that backhand is long, and Davenport has a break here in the second set. And Venus is going to continue at least here as they change ends, with play being continuous.
Take a look at our J.P. Morgan Chase match summary. The first set was really 2 different sets. 5 love for Venus in the beginning, and Davenport coming back to win the last 7 games. A lot of unforced errors from Venus Williams coming off both the forehand and the backhand. Lindsay Davenport finally able to break for Venus serve after having so many opportunities early on. And I think mentally she stayed so strong, Tim Davenport. Even though she was down 5-love, she never showed it.
That's right, and that's something you remarked on last week at Stanford, because Lindsay usually lets you know when she's not feeling good about her game and how things are going. That's been a problem for her over her career in a lot of matches, despite all of her success. Now it's tough on Davenport, too, because maybe you can explain what that feeling is. You know your opponent's hurt. Tide has turned against him heavily. And how do you decide to play?
It's not easy when you know your opponent's hurt, and you can tell by their attitude they're not competing at 100%, and you start thinking, well, are they going to retire? You're hoping in the back of your mind that they will if the match is over, so you really have to stay focused, forget about your opponent, and continue with your game plan. Unfortunately for Davenport, the game plan before the injury was to hit the Venus Williams forehand, and that's got to continue to be the strategy, especially with the injury to the right wrist.
It's long, 30-15.
But you definitely can't wait for your opponent to give up or to hand you the match. You have to continue about your business, which Lindsay Davenport is doing very well right now.
That's wide. 30-15, and again, you see a little punching of the hand and the wrist of Venus Williams after that forehand drive. Forehand long, and Davenport holds for 2-love, and just a reminder that tonight, here comes Venus Williams over to the chair. Allison lying in the chair, and it does appear that maybe that's going to be it for Venus. She is upset. There's Dad Richard leaving his seat, and Venus and Davenport have a chat there, and that's going to be it. And down comes Richard Williams. Venus Williams has retired, and you know that nice moment there between the two players. The feeling you had last week at Stanford, it was such a great match, and I think that I said this maybe perhaps when we get off the air, Mary Jo, that no matter how tough a loss it is, that you had to leave the court as a player saying, you know, boy, that was a fun, competitive match. I lost, but wow.
They left everything out there.
Absolutely.
And very disappointing for Venus, of course, today to have this injury, but I think it's the right decision. You could tell she was struggling. She was in pain. And she was not going to beat Lindsay Davenport if she wasn't 100%.
Well, there's a lot of tennis ahead in the U.S. Open series leading up to the U.S. Open itself, and she has to be cognizant of that fact. Lindsay Davenport will advance to the final and await now the winner of Serena Williams and Demontier. We noticed last week you had a wrap on the right wrist. Is this an injury you re-aggravated or something new? Can you tell us what happened?
My wrap last week was more or less just for vibration and support, but I have a different taping right now, and it's just something I actually did this morning going to practice. I kind of was tying my shoe, and I got up, pushing off of my wrist, and I kind of tweaked it there. So maybe I'm too heavy.
Oh, I don't think so, Venus. But tell us, during the first set, I mean, you got up 5-love, you were playing aggressively. When did it really start to bother you?
Well, the tape was really holding up, and maybe at about 3-love, I started to have issues, and then I just couldn't control my forehand that much, and I guess the more that she saw that, the more she was hitting there, and that didn't help. So.
And how frustrating is it for you this season? You've had a lot of injuries. You came back from a abdominal injury, kept you out the second half of the year, and now this year, the ankle, the leg, now the wrist. I mean, how tough is it to stay mentally positive?
Well, I'm hoping that this will just clear up in a few days, and I'll play next week, but I don't know. Things happen.
You keep things in perspective.
I try.
Did Kathy Ortega, the trainer, tell you specifically what it might be?
she thinks I just did a sprain or something. It happened so quickly before the match that it was more or less about trying to see which tape I could have that would help me play, not really kind of figuring out exactly what it was because it was so close to the match.
Sure. Well, we thank you for staying with us here now, and we hope to see you next week down at La Costa.
Get better.
Wish you best of luck during the rest of the season.
Thanks.
Venus Williams having to retire, and that means the draw looks like this now. Lindsay Davenport awaits the winner of the match tonight between Serena Williams and Elena Dementieva. And applause for Venus Williams, and let's go down to Lindsay Davenport, who is our winner again today, 2 in a row over Venus Williams. But Lindsay, a little different set of circumstances. What were your thoughts when you're down 5-love in that first set to begin with?
Well, I definitely didn't start off the match that well. Just a lot of errors, but, slowly started to get back in the first set. And then, obviously, I really noticed towards the latter stages of the match that something was wrong with her. I wasn't actually sure what it was. I wasn't sure if it was her stomach or her wrist, but it's unfortunate. I mean, she's been through a lot of injuries, and it's just unfortunate.
Lindsay, something that stands out in my mind this week and last week is you stayed so positive throughout the entire match, and even though you were down 5-love, you had those opportunities to break, and you just never got negative.
Yeah, every service game she was serving, I felt like I should have, or could have broken, I should say. But yeah, that was pretty surprising at left 5. I was actually thinking I still had a chance, which is pretty rare, but no, it was important, obviously, to hang in there. I didn't know at that point that she was hurt, and just to get the first couple games that set, I was trying to just get some momentum for the second set, and had no idea that it would carry over to so many games in a row.
And once you notice that she was hurt, it's pretty tough to play against someone like that because you don't know what's going through their head.
It was. I mean, the last 2 or 3 games were ridiculous. She was obviously struggling very much, and that's really tough for everybody. I mean, I feel bad for her. The crowd obviously feels bad. You don't know what to do. Go for your shots or make them in. So, hopefully she gets better at least before the U.S. Open, and we'll see what happens.
Well, Lindsay, a great effort on your part today, nonetheless, even the way it ended. And you've got to feel good about how you played last week, because that was tooth and nail all the way to the bitter end in this great rivalry.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what happened today, I mean, the last few weeks have been such a step forward for myself. And I mean, it's been a long time when I've really felt this positive and this in control of my tennis, like I said, win or lose today. So I'm feeling great about everything that's been going on the last few weeks or last couple months. And my whole goal every year is the U.S. Open, and it's always been the Grand Slam that means the most to me. And, hopefully, I really feel like I'm on the right road to doing well there.
All right. Well, I know your fans will hope for just that. Thanks for joining us here.
Well done.
And good luck in the final. Lindsay Davenport winning the first set, and then Venus Williams retiring after 2 games of the second. We'll be back.
While Lindsay Davenport was making her comeback, showing us that not only does she have power from the baseline, but great finesse at the net. And she fights this double-handed backhand over for the winner. Kept her left hand on the racket, guided it beautifully.